Hello, and welcome to the Executive Function Coaching Academy News. My name is Sean McCormick. I am your host. I'm a former special education teacher turned executive function coach. And today I'm going to be teaching you about the thing that gets in the way of success for a lot of coaches, which is your thinking. All right. The problem is we are problem solvers. Our minds want to solve every problem. And when we don't have a problem, we create a problem. But sometimes there's no problem that needs to be solved. They say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But we as coaches, especially new coaches, try to fix things that aren't even broken. So today I'm going to walk you through how you can identify this and what you can do to stop solving problems that aren't broken. So to do that, let's jump over to the news. I'm going to pull this up here. Oops, not that one. This one. And this one is called Don't Trust Your Thinking. Before we dig into the plan here, I want to show you the EFCA roadmap. So we are in progress with rolling out the EF Foundations course, which is a deep dive course on what are executive functions, how they work in the brain, and how you can understand them better to support students. We're also going to be adding in accountability sessions to the school community so that weekly people can have support on completing the 90-day paid client guarantee course and the certification course. And then a few things we've shipped. Recently, we just put out Carly's case study. So this is a great case study on someone who came to the executive function coaching community. Carly, she has a very successful practice with a business partner. She's actually hired a few coaches in the community, and she tells her story of transitioning from teacher to executive function coach and executive function business owner. So this is a great story if you want to hear a little bit more about how you could do it. An example, Carly is a great example. The other thing is we have put out a guide on how to find other coaches. So you can check that out in the community. And lastly, the 90-day paid client course is there. And what I'm going to start doing now is we're going to make some tweaks to month 2. I got some feedback that one of the challenging things in month 2 was drafting this evergreen webinar script. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a shorter version of this, which I'll be posting in here, editing it here, but also posting in the community tweaks and updates I make to the course. So let's jump over to the episode today, which is Don't Trust Your Thinking. And the too long didn't read is the following. Your brain is a problem-solving machine. So if it doesn't have a problem, it will invent one. That makes you judge your sessions often based on vibes, right? If a student is quiet, if they appear disconnected, if they have a flat affect, instead of actual evidence, like are they actually meeting the goals that you set out with? And then you need to protect your confidence and process by setting clear data points and asking for client input without leading them. So I'm going to walk you through that. Let's jump over to the issue here, which is what I've noticed for a lot of new executive function coaches is they leave a session thinking, oh, that was terrible because the student was quiet. Maybe they didn't laugh, give a big reaction. Maybe they were slow to respond to things. And then these coaches go into fix-it mode, right? They start changing things, adding more, trying to get more of a reaction out of the students, trying to rescue them, right? And then this might end up with the coach feeling like, oh man, I blew it, but they have no data to back up the idea that the session didn't go well. So my question to you is, has this ever happened to you? Have you ever walked away from a session feeling like, am I a good coach? Is this actually having an impact? Like they just did their homework in that session. Was that really valuable to them? And so we need data to evaluate like, well, was the fact that they did homework progress for them, right? Because maybe a student wasn't doing anything before they met with you. And if they're sitting with you doing homework, even though that seems like not a huge gain to the parents and the student, that could be a massive gain. So we want to start to figure out data points we can use to evaluate if change is actually happening. Okay, so let's jump over here to the before we get started part. So before we get started, I do want to share with you the coaching niche toolkit. So if you are thinking about getting started as an executive function coach, this coaching niche toolkit, which can be found on the Executive Function Coaching Academy homepage under courses, niche toolkit, this will really help you get started because in this course, I'll show you here, you get a few things. You get how to determine your niche, so my value proposition template. You get my guide on how to run a successful coaching session, how to set your rates, how to determine it based on your financial needs, a contract, and how to find clients. So this for $11 is, I think, one of the most valuable things you could ever get for yourself. So, but that's just my opinion on it. All right, and then we're gonna jump over that, but check this out. I went to a shop the other day and I painted on this coffee mug. I went to this little pottery painting place with my wife and did something for the season. Now, this is actually significant. You might be like, why is Sean talking about this pottery? But the reason this is significant is I wanted to paint something that represents how you need to feel as a small business owner. So for example, the orange is like, ooh, I'm bright, I'm having fun on the outside. But this kind of like brownish iron color, oh cool, my camera just automatically zooms into that. This brownish iron color, this is actually like the kind of Teflon that you need to have as a business owner, as a coach. You can't just get swept away with your feelings. You have to focus on sticking to your plan, trusting your process. So cheers to you as you learn how to do this. I'll take a little sip of my afternoon coffee. That's delicious. Okay, so let's jump back into this over here. And let me show you here. So what's the issue? All right. Well, the issue is that your mind is designed for these to scan for danger, predicting these worst case scenarios, solve problems quickly so you feel in control, right? This is our reptilian brain at work. So when a student is quiet or flat, you might think, oh, they're bored, they hate this, I'm not actually making progress. Now, the problem is that's not data, that's observations, but you're creating a story. And the mind has an incredible power to fill in the blank and create a story, right? It's our gift and our curse, right? If someone looks at us slightly sideways, we think, oh, they hate us, they don't like this, right? Someone yawns when you're talking to them and you think, oh, they're not interested in me, right? That's the story you're creating. What you don't know is maybe they stayed up till 3 a.m. last night, right? We don't know everything. So our minds create stories. And so we have to figure out a way to manage that, because quiet doesn't necessarily mean disengaged. And for neurodivergent students especially, processing often looks like not much is happening. So I want to tell you a little story. This is a story about the man with no jack in the country. So I'm gonna walk you through this. I'm gonna zoom out here so we can talk about it here. And oh, why is it doing like this? I want it to zoom out a bit. Sometimes you got to make your edits mid-roll. Okay, so this is a story about the man and the jack with the country, or the man without the jack. So there's a man driving on a country road in his nice Tesla. Okay, and he got a flat tire. So he stops and he's like, oh man, I got a flat tire. What am I gonna do? And he's near like a farmhouse, right? There's a little gate, so he opens the gate, he walks in. As he's walking to the farmhouse, he thinks, oh man, this guy's gonna see my Tesla and think I'm just a city slicker. They're not gonna like me. They're not gonna want to help me. But he keeps walking up to the door and he's like, man, I shouldn't have been driving out here. These people don't respect me. I'm a Tesla owner and they all got pickup trucks. Like, I'm in the wrong place. So then he begrudgingly knocks on the door and he hears some footsteps, but they're slow to answer. A light comes on in the porch. And then some guy in overalls opens the door and he goes, the Tesla owner goes, I don't even need your jack anyways. And he walks off storming back to his car with his flat tire. Now, what happened here? In his mind, he built up this narrative that because he had a Tesla and he's a city slicker, the people in the country wouldn't like him, when probably this guy would have given him a jack and helped him fix his car. But that's what people do. They build up stories to protect themselves from feeling vulnerable or unsafe, even when the conditions don't call for that. And that's what we do as coaches. We so desperately want to create value for our clients that we end up creating a story that they're not getting value and then sabotaging our sessions by trying to do too much. So I'm going to walk you through how you can avoid doing that. And if you want to dive deeper into this, I have an episode in this playlist called Don't Be the Do Everything Coach, as well as the video on our fears are traitors or our doubts are traitors. So those 2 videos will help you go deeper into this concept. So let's jump back over here and talk about this. So why is this an issue for coaches, right? Because you're chasing visible wins. When you need to see evidence of your wins, this isn't going to work out, right? One of the main things about coaching is that you have to invest in long-term growth that won't happen right away, right? The seed does not plant the same day that you plant, or the fruit does not come out the same day you plant the seed, right? So if you're chasing visible wins instead of slow, meaningful progress, this is going to be a hard job. The other thing is you're making the session about you, not the client. When you focus on how you are interpreting their behavior, it's not about them. It's not about the data and tracking what's happening. It's about you. And then you're abandoning your framework instead of trusting it. We know what works as educators, as teachers. We've come up with systems to track progress, right? Remember, the rule is progress is visualized. If you're not seeing progress growing in your data points, then that's an opportunity to iterate and adjust. But you can't just take this anecdotal data or ask, say, hey, I noticed you're quiet. I want to make sure you're getting value out of the session. What are you taking away so far? Okay, so then what mistakes start happening because of this mind state that we're in? Well, we start to seek reassurance instead of actual feedback. Was that okay? Did this make sense, right? Now the clients are feeling pressured to take care of your feelings instead of actually just focusing on what's working for them. We're mind reading instead of measuring, right? If they didn't smile, they don't like what I'm doing, right? But not everybody's affect works the same way. Some people have very flat affects. And in reality, you didn't ask, you didn't measure, you're just guessing. So we got to get out of that space. We got to work off data. And then we start to create leading questions, right? That chase the negative. So instead of saying like, hey, what was the most helpful about this meeting? You say things like, what didn't you like about today? Why would we assume that the student or client didn't like something? But when you ask that question like that, you force them to think of something that didn't work. When maybe, was there anything that felt off or not helpful? No need to ask that. Now, this is training your clients to scan for problems, not identify solutions, right? And it feeds into your fears. So it's really important how you ask for feedback so that you don't get stuck. Now, before we go into the solution of how to stop interfering with your process, I want to share a few wins from the community. So one thing I love to see was exchanging novelty for nuance. And I saw Kimberly do this in the community. So she's tracking her wins on her road to her first full paying client. And she documented this. Today, I exchanged novelty for nuance by being detail-oriented and following up consistently. I strengthened a partnership that started online and now is rooted in trust. She sees my potential because I've continuously taken action on her requests and communicated clearly and consistently. So this is where you're doing it, Kimberly. Well done. Like you're actually following through. You're building relationships and these people will start referring to you. And then she sent 10. This is data, right? Data points. 10, did you get this follow-ups? And updated my outreach tracking sheet to identify who has responded and who hasn't. So as we talk about in the community, when you not only reach out to someone, but you send a follow-up of, did you get this? Then you start to build those relationships because people see you are a high follow-through individual and that she's real. And what else Kimberly is noticing is that homeschooled and doctors don't respond. So now she can focus more on youth program directors and advocates, right? So what we want to do when we're trying to build our business and get more clients is figure out who's responding, who's engaging, who's not, and then how do we double down on the people that are engaging. And setting up a payment system in TutorBird by connecting Stripe, this is amazing, right? Now you can collect payments from clients. You don't have to chase payments, and this is just absolutely game-changing. So well done, Kimberly. The other one, Anna is stacking up some wins. She's planning on making her leap into full-time coaching, which I just love to see. Well done, Anna. And she's making a roadmap. And this is a good example of we need to have a roadmap with clear points that we can say happened or did not happen. This is how we track our own data. And so Anna is demonstrating the steps she's taking towards doing that. She's working with clients and she's mapping out her process to transition from full-time work in another career, another position to working full-time as a coach. So well done, Anna. Okay, so here's how you stop interfering with your process. I'm going to walk you through some things you can do. So number one, set clear, measurable targets before the session, right? So like what if you did one thing in your session with your client, what would it be? Like we did that. Maybe it's submitting a certain assignment, emailing a professor, whatever it might be. Make it smart enough where you can answer, did this happen or did it not? No, partially, right? You have to have clear outcomes that you can say did or did not happen. And ideally, these should be based on the agreements you made with the family up front in terms of what you're going to do. So set that clear, smart outcome up front before the session based on what you agreed with the family. So that's number one. Okay, number two, run your process start to finish, right? Have a framework for your session. So we talk about the PEMDAS framework. Right? Prioritize a secure connection, establish SMART goals with your clients, make key stakeholders aware of those goals, connect with them, clarify the goal, do the work, confirm next steps, right? Don't let your sessions drift off into nothingness or just talking, right? Make it useful. And if you're sticking with your process and you're still not getting results after multiple sessions, then you reevaluate your process, but you're not judging in the moment typically. Okay. Number three, capture actual data, not vibes. Are you making progress towards your agreed upon goals for coaching? If not, were your goals upfront clear enough? Do you need to reevaluate those goals? Try gathering different types of data. So here's a few types of data you can gather. Behavioral data. Did they open your tracker, right? Did they complete any assignments independently? Did they complete assignments with you? Did they log into their portal? You can also have your client's self-report data. On a scale from 1 to 10, how clear do you feel on your next step? All right, visual data. Does their calendar have action items in it, right? Has their task list been cleaned up? Do they have their MITs, their most important tasks? Start to gather and track data rather than just feelings. In your job, remember, as a coach, the 6 master laws of EF coaching are make progress visual. You want to make that progress as visual as possible. And just to go a little deeper on this progress is visualized, I've talked about the 6 master laws of EF coaching. Progress is visualized is really important. Be the guide, not the hero. Start stronger and stronger. Set and get expectations. Beware of the curse of knowledge, and improvisation is key. So keep these in mind when you're doing this, especially this progress is visualized, is that are you tracking something or are you just showing up to your sessions, right? If you're not tracking something, if it's not measured, it doesn't matter. So we want to measure that stuff. Okay, let's jump over back here. Ask for feedback without shaping it. This one's really important. At the end of the session, keep it simple and neutral, right? So what was most helpful about today's session? What, if anything, would you like to focus on in our next meeting that we didn't get to, right? And I wouldn't even probably add here less helpful. I'm going to actually adjust that. I'm just going to say what feels unclear, right? What if anything, and this is the most important part here, that if anything, right? Because they may not have anything and that's okay. You don't want to lead them into feeling like there's a problem. Okay. And then also this pause feature, make sure to pause and give people a chance to respond. See, oftentimes we rush to complete the story for them or fill in the blanks when we really need to give them a chance to complete their ideas. Okay. Number 5, review with a simple checklist, right? If you need to start feeling more comfortable with your sessions, like ask yourself, what are the key things I need to do in a session to feel good about this, right? Instead of, did they look happy? Did I do my job? Did I connect a small action in the session to their bigger goal? Did we set a clear, measurable target for the session? Did I stick with my process? Were the next steps concrete and written down? Maybe did they walk away with one thing from the session? Did I ask for feedback on what was most helpful? Have your checklist and don't just lean into the discomfort of interacting with a new person. Now I'm going to have a bonus tip here, which is separate feelings from fact, right? Instead of that session sucked, which this is natural, right? I remember it's like after you make a new friend or after you play a basketball game, whatever, the first time things might feel like, oh, I didn't do as well as I hoped for, right? I spoke up at a meeting I was at yesterday and no one clapped, which is okay. It wasn't even a situation where someone would clap, but I felt stupid, right? But I was judging myself. I was creating a story that it wasn't a good comment or something like that. So instead, the fact is, did I engage in the meeting, right? Did we hit the target or move closer? What did the student say was helpful? What will I tweak next time? Okay. So these are all helpful tips that can make you stop interfering with your process. Okay, so now before we jump into the final steps here, I want to walk you through, if you are watching this, if you're not part of the community and you want to get going with this, of course you can do the niche toolkit. You can download any of the free tools from the EF Executive Function Coaching Academy website. If you're really serious about becoming an executive function coach in the next 90 days, I want to share with you what I would recommend doing. I have put all my knowledge, all my expertise into this one course here. It's my certification course. So if you want to become a certified executive function coach, then check out this course. There will be a link in the video for this, and you can see like how to build your business, right? How to avoid all the mistakes I dealt with in the last 5 years of becoming an executive function coach. Plus, you can look at feedback from other community members who have taken this course. You can see who this course is for, who it's not, and hopefully this is going to be really, really helpful for you. Okay, so let's jump back over to my final thought here, which is a little quote that I found. We need a quote on the end of this, which is, the empowering part of this is we have the power to change the story. So sometimes the story is I'm unlovable, or I can't trust anyone, or nothing will ever work out for me. Those are stories we tell ourselves because somebody else told us that story about us. We need to remember, because of the fact that we're unreliable narrators, that's what I want you to remember. Our emotions will make us unreliable narrators, that the story is generally more about the storyteller than the person in the story. So my wonder for you is, what stories are you telling yourself in your coaching sessions that you need to back up with actual data, right? If there's not data, then there's no problem. If there's no problem, there's no solution, right? I want you to start identifying those problems based on data. What data or evidence do you have? And if you don't have evidence for it, rethink it, right? We need to figure out, are we on track with the goals we've established in this coaching process? And is there data to show whether we're off track or on track or kind of in a neutral state? So that's what I want to challenge you to do. Hope this is helpful. Drop a comment below letting me know what was most helpful about this video for you, what questions you have, and I will see you in next week's EFCA news. Talk to you soon.